Welcome back to All Eyes on Me. It's Divinity, your host, and I am so excited about today's episode. It's kind of cool because she's actually kind of a big deal too. So everybody meet Whitney.
Hey, hello everybody. Hello, Divinity. It's good to see you again. It's been a minute.
Yeah. When's the last time you and I hung out?
I think it was like probably at Rocco's when I was doing call out, right?
Yeah, that was 2019.
29th pre-pandemic.
Yeah, wow.
Because once the pandemic hit, yeah.
You're a mom.
I'm a mom. So I went from nightclub to daycare clubs.
Yeah, so I used to go dance at all of the events that Whitney would throw because Whitney does a lot of things, but Whitney throws these really cool lesbian events in WeHo. If you guys don't know what WeHo is, it's West Hollywood.
West Hollywood, yes. Yes. Yeah.
And you did this one called Call Out Thursdays.
Call Out Thursdays. Yep. Call Out Thursdays was every Thursday. It was popping, you know what I'm saying? And then the pandemic hit. But I think we're going to have some things coming back soon. So.
Oh, shit. Maybe
I don't know if not Call Out, but there might be something coming back.
Get back on the box.
I mean, what do you think? Debut. It's round 2. I mean, it's weird for me going back out because now I'm throwing events again. I'm very selective, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I go back out and I'm like, I gotta code switch. You know, I gotta switch from mom zone activity, mental state to getting back into the clubs. And to be honest, I'm not about these streets as much anymore.
Yeah, I was about to say, how's your life changed since becoming a mom?
Oh my God, everything has changed. I mean, you know, they really say you can't prepare, and you really can't. There's nothing, as much preparation as you can do. You just prepare to be completely, be prepared to know nothing. About being a mom, being a parent, and relearning yourself, really. You know what I mean? You really the moment that I always said when I gave birth, when I had my son, it's interesting when people have their kids, there's this image that takes place of this very, this movie atmosphere of they hand you the child, or you are handed the child and you're holding them and you're fall in love instantly, and you're just everything is this utopian situation and you're in love and it's all bells and whistles, and it's no, so many things happen in that exact moment. Not only did you just go through some serious physical trauma because you just birthed a child, right?
Yeah.
But you also are now a new mom, so the old you in this new role, the old you has just died completely. So not only is this new child born, but a new you is born. And they're best of luck. Get to know this child, being a mom, and your new self all in one fell swoop.
Yeah. I know a lot of women, it's so funny how different people talk about their pregnancies and their motherhood, because I know some women that always say the opposite. I didn't lose myself becoming a mom. I'm still me. And it's they preach about how they don't want to lose their individuality and they're still the same person, just the person that they were before with the kid. So you're saying you become a different person.
Well, first of all, I think everybody's experience is unique, right?
Yeah.
So it's if those women are having, or those people are having that experience, then great. I do think a lot of times people use that rhetoric to convince themselves, because it's something that's scary. It's scary to lose yourself. It's scary to be reborn and to have to become this new person and adopt all these new mentalities and priorities and all these things. So it's a lot of people, I think, because your society is telling you should be the same, you tell yourself, I'm still the same person. No, I swear, nothing's changed. Everything's fine. I'm fine. As you're rocking the baby, exhausted at 4 a.m. It's you're not the same. And that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful that you're not the same. I wouldn't want to be the same me, as a mom,
Yeah.
I've evolved and I've become a new, it's just opened up layers, levels, and things like that. And I'm super grateful for it. It's been hard. Girl, it's been hard.
Yeah.
But it's
and you're a single mom too, right?
A single mom.
And you had the baby on your own?
I did. Yeah, I did it all. I can drink this.
Yeah, you can drink.
Because these lights are.
Is that alcohol or is that water?
Yeah, it's just pure tequila. That's fine, right? Everything's fine.
Whatever you need.
I mean, damn, I didn't even think about that, but maybe I should have. I did it all on my own. I knew I wanted to be a mom, and I just said to myself, if it wasn't happening at 37, by 37, then I was just gonna take matters into my own hands, whatever the circumstances might be. It just played out that way, and I stuck to it. And it was weird because it's I said it prior to being 37. I said, if at 37 this hasn't happened, which it didn't seem like it was going to, then I was going to do it. And I was like, and then when I started going through the process, I was like, damn, I'm really doing this.
Yeah.
I was surprised. I was like, damn, I'm really doing this. Okay. I was just going through the motions, and it was almost like spirit was like carrying me. Honestly, it was like, because I think a lot of times when I have had things that I want to do, you get in your own way a lot. A lot of people like have big visions, have goals, and a lot of them get not always followed through with, but for some reason, this thing, nothing was going to stop me. Like, it was just like spirit was literally, it felt like it was like pushing me through, and everything was lining up so perfectly. Like, and when I say perfectly, I don't mean like easy, because it wasn't, it was like obstacles were put in my way.
Yeah.
Or presented to me, I would say, not put in my way. They were presented to me, and it was like choices needed to be made, and I just kept making the choices that aligned me with that purpose every time. And then it ended up happening, and I got pregnant real quick. Wow. So that was surprising, because I didn't know. I thought I was going to I didn't know if I was going to go in and go to the fertility clinic, and my body was going to, be inseminated. My body was going to be like, what's that stuff? We're unfamiliar. Get it out of here, Yeah. But it turns out, no, it was waiting 37 years to absorb it.
And did you always know that you wanted to be a mom?
Yeah. Yeah, that was always like in my calling for sure. I just knew like it was a non-negotiable for me.
Where did you grow up?
I was born in Connecticut, in Hartford area of Connecticut, and then I lived there till I was 17, and then moved to New York.
Moved to New York?
Yeah.
I didn't know you lived in New York.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, girl, yeah. I went to college in New York. I lived there till I moved here.
Yeah.
I lived in Brooklyn and...
Oh my gosh. I love Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you move from New York to here? Was that for the L word?
No, actually, no. I was... I got out of a relationship. My best friend happened to move from New York already to LA, and she had an open room, and I got a relationship, and I was like, you know what? There's no better time than now. You know what I mean? Like, I had a lot of like, basically things. When I was in school, I was probably something you don't know about me. I went to school for political science and women's studies. Right, I double majored. And I was
a major in women's studies too.
Oh, you were? See,
I was also pre-law too.
Oh, see, I took my LSATs. I got into law school.
Oh my God! What? We didn't have these conversations when I danced for you.
Yeah, go figure. You
we were both pre-law.
I'm all like shots. Yeah, remember that time LSATs? Woohoo! What was your score?
Oh my God! Mm-hmm. All of my best friends are moms, and I actually don't have any non-binary parents in my life, like closely. So that is actually an experience that I'm gonna have if I end up with a non-binary or trans person, because literally all of my best friends are like cis women mothers. So I think that like you and I reconnecting and like learning the rhetoric and just like the speech around it, I'm like, wow, like duh.
Yeah. It's interesting because being a non-binary, masculine of center, birthing person, mother, I identify as a mother, but then again, it's like, dad, I could be dad, I could be mom, I could be anything. I could be whatever he wants to call me.
Yeah.
I'm that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like stepping into that role and like having it was an interesting experience. I'll tell you that. Cause it's like, people don't expect you to be pregnant. And by you, I mean me. Like they were like, wait, who's carrying them? I'm like, is there anybody else here? It's going to be me. Yeah. So.
Well, even back in the day when we did our minor, or were you a major or a minor in women's studies?
I double majored.
Okay. I was a minor in it, and now they have changed it to women and gender studies.
Right.
Not just women's studies.
Yeah.
And back in the day, like, I don't even think that they highlighted non-binary trans people back then.
And I don't know if you know this, but I'm significantly older than you. I mean, you know that. But
how much older are you?
A lot.
How old? Not. I'm almost 30.
Whoa, you're almost 30? What? How old do you think I am?
39. 38.
Yeah. Okay. Well, if you just listen to something I said when I was 37. So right now, I'm about to be, in 2 weeks, Leo gang, I'm about to be 41.
Really? Mm-hmm. Everybody in their 40s is so hot to me.
I'm trying to go for that MILF DILF life,
You're giving daddy a whole new name.
I'm trying, you know what I mean? Like, I can't believe I'm about to be 41. I can't believe that you're like, I'm about to be 30.
Yeah,
like, it's something, like, no shade. But the fact that you're like, I'm about to be 30, guys.
No, like, get
things
out
are getting real.
No,
okay.
but,
And you're like, no, like, I'm about to be 30. So, like, it's a game changer. Like, I've learned a lot. I'm like, girl, you haven't learned anything yet.
I don't know.
You have. You've learned a lot. Like, hey, I'm not
Those
trying to
20s
discount.
were rough,
Listen,
Whitney.
my 20s were also rough.
Like, rough. Like, almost
my 20s
died.
were rough. No, I feel that. I feel that. Listen, I think that there's eras, there's stages, but knowing what I know now about my 30s,
wow,
I'm proud to be in my 40s. And now I'm about to be in my 40s. Like, I'm 40, but now I'm about to be in my 40s, which I think like is a whole new level. But 30s, no, I'm telling you, it's like, yeah, 20s were rough, 30s were rough, but there's something that happens. Well, and again, everybody's journey is different, right? But there's something that happens in your 40s. You stop giving a fuck more and more. Like, you can say you don't give a fuck when you're in your 30s, when you're in your 20s, but you do. And that's fine. You're supposed to, you know? I think if you allow yourself through experience and humility and everything to have, as your age increases, your ego decreases. You know, it's the death of the ego, and it's a beautiful thing because it really allows you to step into a space of just free flowing movement and like embracing yourself, embracing your imperfections, embracing everything, and like finding ways to, I don't know, celebrate them more, like in an authentic state of just like exploration. And like, you know, and now being a mom for me, that's one of the things that I'm super appreciative about, because it's like my number one role in the world, my number one care is my son.
Yeah.
And I don't give a fuck about anybody's opinion. Yeah. Like, you know, it's, when I say that, I mean, I'm here to receive like feedback, have conversations, but what I mean is like how I move, how I, you know, what like really hits home to my heart, and like what would normally maybe like create stagnation or something like that, or spiraling or things like that. It's like, it doesn't exist. Or if it exists, it's secondary to like the priority that my son is. It's like, it's a game changer. And I'm glad that I became a parent later in life because of that. And yeah, I'm glad to be almost 41.
Hot. So what are you going to do for your 41st?
To be honest, probably
are you going to turn up like you always do?
Hell no. No. I'm like really not a turn up person anymore.
Wow.
I know.
That's so wild.
I know. I probably will go to the woods. I'm like a very woods person, yeah.
I love that. Joshua Tree.
I'm more of a mountain person. Less desert, more mountain.
That's me too. Mm-hmm. I love the
I need
mountains.
trees and like greenery. I like Joshua Tree is cool, but
it's very LA.
It's like, hey, how are you going to Joshua Tree?
You might go spiritual, gonna go to Joshua Tree and take some shrooms.
Yeah, I'm like, no, I need to go to the mountains and like, like chop wood that's already been naturally downed. You know what I'm saying? I'm not cutting down any trees. Yeah. I grew up like in the Hartford area of Connecticut. And I was there most of my life, and then moved to New York.
Parents were together, separate?
No, my parents were together until I was 10, and then separated, divorced. I would say that was the. It was always shocking. I felt like it was always shocking to like hear now like whose parents are still together. I'm like, your parents are still together? What type of unicorn family did you have? Because it doesn't scream raging dysfunction like mine. Like that feels comfortable to me. Isn't that the normal? Isn't everybody like that or not?
Yeah, I mean, it's relatable to me.
Yeah. I mean, that's what happens, you know. But I mean, so I grew up, my parents got divorced when I was 10. And, you know, I don't know. I was definitely a on your own, do it yourself type of person. The beautiful thing about, for me, about like having being blessed to be a parent is like really unpacking and like learning at every moment, every step of the way, every day, every hour of the day, like learning how to be better. Like as a parent, as a human, as a friend, as everything, because I see the small actions that I could take, or the small thing, my wording, my intonation, how he relates to me and I relate to him, like what triggers me and why. It's like, it's wild. It's like, it's so wild, like how much your childhood plays out in your parenting.
I was about to say, do you feel like things from your childhood coming up for you now that you're a mom?
Yeah, major.
Oh,
I mean, like every day. Like,
give me an example.
I mean, God, there's so many. Everything plays out. It's like, so I've really committed to gentle parenting, and it's hard. And you also have to, just because I think people have this notion of gentle parenting where it's like you're just like sitting around, you're like, no, you can't do that. Like peaceful talking. It's like, yes, and you still need to figure out that sweet spot of like creating boundaries, creating respect, like creating a hard no, like creating also a sense of urgency when I'm telling you, like, this is dangerous, like that type of thing. And, okay, there's one thing I will say, okay, this was a moment. Whew, let me tell you this.
Oh, I can't wait.
So one thing that I learned, because it's these things you don't even pay it, you don't even realize until you're in them. And the cool thing is, because it's really cool, parenthood is dope. Like it's so hard, but it's so dope if you love to like experience just the hardships too. Like, and you put as much celebration on the hardships as you do on the joyous moments, because there's going to be plenty of both. But there was a time where, God, it was like kind of recently. I mean, it was, I don't know, like 6 months ago, something like that. I was like going through it emotionally, you know, because that's the thing when you're a single mom, it's like you don't have time to like go take space, go to Joshua Tree and do mushrooms and like be with yourself. It's like you have to always be on and be there and be the like leader, hold it together emotionally. Yeah. And I was having a really hard weekend moment, just time, like I was going through some major personal things. I was going through like a breakup and things like that, and I hadn't navigated a breakup or anything like that as a mom, you know, and to not have the space to process was really hard, right? And so I'm there and I'm trying to hold it together, but I'm like feeling all these emotions and my brain is all jumbled, and I have Mecca, and you know, I was kind of going through the motions of my day and just like trying to not lose it, trying to not cry, trying to not have these meltdowns, and you know, just show up for him in the highest way. And we went to the park and he fell asleep in the car. I knew I was pushing it. It was past his nap time, you know, and we went to the park. He fell asleep in the car and I'm like, oh, please just let me transfer you to the bed. I just need a minute. Please just nap. And I took him in. As soon as I woke him up, he started crying and screaming. And my son is like amazing. I was so blessed. He's so great. But this was a moment, of course, because it's like, you know, the law of the universe where it's like when you're having shit, like things will happen. And he just started losing it. And he was crying. And I'm like, oh, please just go to sleep. So I carried him in the house. I put him in the bed. And I was like, Mecca, please just sleep. And he was just crying, screaming, he wants to go in the living room. He wants to do anything else. And I'm like just sitting there trying to be calm, trying to hold it together. And then finally, I literally just sat there and I couldn't do it anymore. Like I couldn't do it anymore. And I just lost it. I started crying. And like for me, I'm not a public crier. You know, I'm very sensitive. I think people think, I don't know, that maybe I have this I've got it together image, or that, like I don't cry. I like cry if I see somebody hold the door open for somebody too long. Like I'm very sensitive, but I have what I call #secret tears. Like I'll be like, you know, and so for me to cry in front of my son, oh my God, so many things were going through my head at that moment, because I'm sitting there and it's like kind of dark in his room and I'm sitting on the edge of his bed and he was crying. And as soon as I started crying, like I just got so overwhelmed with emotion, I just couldn't hide it. And I'm like, I just had to let the floodgates out. And he just stopped instantly. He stopped and he was like, Mama, what are you doing? What are you doing, Mama? And he like went up and he held my face and he took my hands away. And I was just like, I was just like, Mecca, I just want you to know, like, this has nothing to do with you. Like, Mommy feels sad right now and I'm going to feel happy. I just need to get through this. Sometimes people feel sad and then they feel happy, and it has nothing to do with you. I just want you to know that, okay? It has nothing to do with you. And then he laid down, and this kid is so special. He laid down and he patted the side of his bed for me to lay down next to him. And I laid down next to him, and he grabbed my face, and he just held my face. And he's like, you sad, Mama? You okay? You're going to be okay. And I'm like, and then, of course, I'm like crying more. You know, I'm like holding it together, but I'm really, and finally it became clear that he was not napping. Nobody was napping. Naps were not being had. And so I was like, do you want to go in the living room? So we went in the living room. I sat him on the couch, and I said, Mecca, Mommy's going to go outside and just take space, because I teach him how to take space. I said, I'm going to take space for about 5 minutes, and then I'm going to come back in. Okay, are you okay? And he said, yeah, Mama, I'm okay. So I went outside, had a good cry privately, came back in, and I said, I was sad, and I thank you for giving me space, and now I feel happy. See, and he said, Mama, sometimes you get sad, and then you get happy. Sometimes I get sad, and then I cry, and then I get happy. It's okay. And I was like, and then I instantly Googled, is it bad to cry in front of your toddler? Like when, I started spiraling, because I'm like, oh my God, he's responsible for my emotions. Like, what have I done? I'm like tainting him. And because one thing that was always such a fear of mine was to have him be responsible for my emotions, And because there was a lot of that in my relationship with my parents, I felt like. And, I Googled it, and it was like, no, this is healthy. Like, crying in front of your kids is healthy, but showing them the other side is important. And so, I realized in that moment that the reason why I have such a hard time crying, such a hard time being vulnerable like that, is because in my household, when crying occurred, it was catastrophic. People were losing their shit. People were blaming each other. People were angry. And then there was no resolve. It was just like silence. And then all of a sudden it was okay, but we just didn't talk about it. So it was like, it felt like unsafe to cry. So it was like unpacking that in real time and seeing the benefits. And for myself too, it was just like, oh, wait, this makes sense now. Like all of these pieces are coming together, and like, I get it, and it's like seeing that it's moments like that I'm like very grateful for. And they're hard lessons to learn, and they're scary, because you're like, am I fucking up? Every day you think, am I fucking up? And no, if you care, you're not. You know what I mean? If you care enough to think, am I fucking up? Then you're not. That's my opinion.
The amount of accountability you have as a mom is incredible.
I mean, it's like, that's something I feel like is just important to have. I mean, because you have to be accountable, Everything you're doing is a direct reflection onto him of yourself. And it's like, you're not going to be perfect. And I think that that's like the accountability that you need to take above all. It's just like, I'm not perfect, but I'm trying every moment of the day. And that's all I can do, It's like, and that's what's hard. And it's tiring. It's like, damn. But it's like being put in a crash course of healing.
Yeah.
If you go there. Some parents don't. Some parents are like, fuck it.
I feel like once certain things start to come up about my mom, I push it really far down, because as, a woman now who wants to be a mother, I'm doing the same thing in my head, where I'm trying to figure out this perfect balance of forgiving my mom, but also not excusing a lot of things that she did, because my mom has still to this day made her entire identity around being a mom to me since she had me, because she lost herself completely. And a lot of it was personal choice. And like, it was shitty, because growing up, she would talk about all these things that you should not be talking about to your child with me. And I was an only child. So I ended up being my mom's caretaker, and my mom has a lot of mental health issues, which I won't go into, but I was Mecca on an extreme level, like constantly holding my mom as she cried. It's like, as a child, like, you do soak in your parent and your mom. And after the fact, it was like, everything's happening to me, and you just have to deal with it as a kid. And look what I'm going through. And it was this like energy of like, I was constantly tapping into my mother at such a young age, 3 years old, seeing her going through all of these extreme traumas and hardships, and not understanding where it's coming from, but knowing that I'm now in this role of caretaker. And now I'm in this role of holding space for my mom and being her therapist at like 5. It's like, I'm not that role though. Like I'm your daughter.
Right.
And so I think that like as I got older and not ever having a true accountability or like realization of how much that affected my life, because it meant that I was taught things that no one should learn as a child, that they should actually learn as an adult. I was taught those things when I was like in elementary school, and things like social skills, rhetoric, speech, ways to like tap into other people. I didn't learn that until my 20s. And so I feel like in a weird fucked up way, I feel like my survival skills were built at an early age. Like I know how to survive. Like I know how to live out of a car. I know how to deal with mental illness at a young age. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
same.
things that I should have learned, basic skills in conversation, tapping into other people of other cultures, of other races, just all these things that I should have learned and been taught. I didn't have time to learn those things because I came from chaos, turbulence.
Same, yeah.
And so I think it's a little bit embarrassing to admit that in this stage of my life, I'm actually starting to look at my entire 20s, which were rough, and realize that I was actually a late bloomer in things that I should have known when I was a kid. And so as an adult, it does fuck you up because then people are expecting things of you that you should just know. And you don't know those things because you're like, well, I know what a psych ward is like.
Yeah.
You can't say
and
that. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing. It's like everybody has, I don't know. I feel like there's different scales of measurement of like what is considered an adult and like what is, experience is unique to everyone. So it's like, I don't think that there's a quantifiable way to be like, oh, you've gone through A, B, and C, B, D, E, and F. So now you're an adult. It's like, I think that there's, I think what makes you an adult, which is such a vague, I'm using major air quotes on this, is like your ability to learn and adapt and apply. I think the application is what makes you enter into adulthood. Yeah. So whatever it is. And I think a lot of people that even go through the normal steps of what would make you a technical adult, it's like the application still is faltering, I mean, you can know how to manage your finances and buy a house and like have good credit and this and that, but like, what's your emotional intelligence? What are your coping skills like? Like how much are you taking accountability for your own involvement in certain situations, and how are you actively, learning how to do better in, for example, like in how you navigate your own parenthood and things like that. And it's like, I think those are real, checkpoints of maturity and adulthood and things like that. I don't think that it's like, I think late bloomer, there's something beautiful in that. I mean, just because, it's like, you probably had your own experiences. Everybody has their own experiences that have now formed it. But what are you taking from those experiences, those traumas, that turmoil, and how are you changing it into a healthy application in your day-to-day now to better your own life and those around you? Yeah. And I think that that's like a major, that is what growing up is, I think.
Well, and I thought I would have those healing conversations with my mom around mothering and parenting, because I am starting to prepare myself mentally to be a mom, because it's like it's been one of my biggest dreams my whole life to be a mom. And I've always had visions of my kids. And I sat my mom down one time and I was like, I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but I just need you to understand that a huge reason I started going to therapy years ago was because I needed to dismantle this chaos and anxiety in my brain that I constantly had to hold space or make excuses for things that were outside of my control, that were not even mine to pick up. Like there was so much shit in my childhood that was due to you and dad and your relationship and you specifically. Like it was just always drama. There was always chaos. There's always something happening. And I'm sorry, but like as a child, like it did suck to grow up too fast. Like I knew a lot of how the world worked from a very young age. Yeah. And now as an adult, it's not like I go up to people and I say, this happened to me as a kid, so this is why I'm way too woke. You know what I mean? Like people don't expect you to just know a lot of different life experiences just by meeting you. And instead of just hearing me and being like, I'm so sorry that I opened up that floodgate for you to be too involved in what was happening, it was, well, you don't know what I was going through and you had a good childhood. So just the fact that you are constantly Googling and constantly looking into how you can like better be for your kid. I just hope that you have that forgiveness in yourself, that crying and having these moments with your kid is okay.
Yeah.
Especially because you already are tapped into that being a balance of also being tough and like showing that there are certain things that you have as an adult behind closed doors that you don't show him, but like it's okay to let go too with him, because kids actually are tapped into you and like we're intuitive.
They really are.
I was so intuitive.
So I was too. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I really feel like, with my parents, my mother specifically too, I feel like there was a lot of downloads and holding space for emotions. And you know, it's like that was what it was. And it's like, I have to now realize that in my relationship now, and when you said you sat your mom down, it's like, I've tried to have these similar conversations with my mother too. And you just kind of have to move without expectation, because, you know, people are healing at different paces. People's experiences are unique. But if you can become aware of the root and just clear it out of yourself and just say it and move without expectation of their response or how healed they are or where they're at with things, then that should give you enough peace. You know, I've really learned that, because you can't expect your parents now all of a sudden be in a healed ass state of being like, you're right, you know, let me reflect back and admit all the things that maybe they will, maybe they won't. But man, I've like really, really tried to work on moving away from expecting anything from anybody.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have a sister, yeah.
You have a sister?
I have an older sister, yeah.
What is she like?
She is an artist. She lives in Oregon. She moved to Oregon when I was pregnant, or maybe when I gave birth. I don't know. We've actually we're working through some things right now. And by working through, we haven't really spoken in a couple months. So I think our lives are going separate ways. You know, I had a very specific vision of being a mom, and she has a very specific vision of being an artist, and they are taking us on different energetic paths, it feels as though.
Damn.
And that's okay. You know, it is what it is. A chosen family to me has always been like a very major part of my life since I was little. And I have awesome chosen family. And I'm not saying my biological family isn't awesome in their own situation, but again, like I've really had to like move into a space of no expectation.
I think that's what I did too for so many years, because I didn't grow up with a good family at all.
Yeah.
I it was like I was constantly a casting director, just casting different roles in my life. Like, oh, this is my chosen grandma and my chosen sister and my chosen brother. And I was casting people as family members. Mm-hmm. And so when there were like friendship fallouts or things happening in my relationships where suddenly I was losing this person, it's like when those people like leave your life, it's like for somebody that like casted roles, I'm like, this wasn't just a friend. I adopted this person. And it's like, it hits so much harder. And so it's like, then you also put those expectations so much more gravitationally on these people, because you're like, you're not just my friend, you're like fulfilling some role. So I had to get to a place with my healing where I stopped fulfilling roles.
Right. I feel that.
Like, that was hard.
Yeah. No, I feel that.
Chosen family is hard too.
Chosen family is hard. I mean, family is hard in general. I mean, the thing is, you have to think like everybody is evolving at different speeds and at different paces. And it's like all these moving pieces. So it's very rare that at all times, it's almost impossible that at all times everybody's going to align perfectly in like the Rubik's Cube of life, if you will, you know. And it's like, that's why it's like so important to, I think, like I said, be in a state of just no expectation, because being there, like if you are expecting anything from anybody, if you're expecting a certain response, expecting a certain behavior, expecting certain results, it does not allow you, it physically cannot allow you to live in the present. It physically can't. So like all we have is, I know as cliche as it sounds, it's like we have now, like this is the moment, this is the time. If you're expecting anything, you're already ahead of the game in that. So like just get rid of it. Just eliminate it. It will provide you with so much more peace in yourself if you can just learn to embrace that moment and be pleasantly surprised when things do line up with, how an idealized version of what you would see. But
is it hard, like being single and also not having your sister and you're kind of living a unique experience too, like having this non-binary motherhood aspect. I'm sure that can feel kind of isolating at times.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing has been interesting because it's like, getting pregnant in general, it was interesting because, although I go by they, them, or she, her, I'm not super specific, but I identify as non-binary. And I've definitely had gender confusion, gender questions my entire life since I was little. I very much looked like a boy, like passed as a boy my whole life, until one time when I was in 6th grade and this kindergartner was telling her mother that she had a boyfriend on the bus, and they couldn't figure out who it was, and then they realized it was me. And so they sat me down, and I had to explain to this kindergartner why I couldn't be her boyfriend because I was a girl, at which point she completely lost her shit, started crying, and I felt like a horrible person because this is back in the 80s, like when things were not cool, you know what I'm saying? It was like 89 or something. Or no, I was in 6th grade, it was like 93. And I was like, from now on, I'm going to be a girl. Like, because I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to like break hearts. I didn't want to confuse people. I didn't want to do all that. So, but anyway, my point is that one of the most divinely feminine things you could do is carry a child. You know what I'm saying? Like that is your femininity at its highest point in that capacity, in my eyes. Everybody looks at it. So stepping into that and like having my body change into that, and like even from like what am I going to wear during my pregnancy to like what is my relationship with my chest, because I do not identify, like probably in the future I'll be getting top surgery type thing. And like I didn't have a lot of feedback from other people in terms of other people who had shared the experience of like masculine center women or people getting pregnant, and so it was like, what's going to happen? It felt like uncharted territory, and a lot of questions asked and this and that. But it was the first time where I felt so like synced up with my body and my femininity and my womanness in that capacity. It was like I had boobs and they got bigger and I was just rocking it. I would like have no shirt on. I would do all the things like, and I felt like it was because for the first time it served a purpose. Like that made sense to me because all of a sudden it was utilitarian, Before that I was so confused my whole life. Like, why was I born into this body? It doesn't make sense. Like for me, it never lined up. I always felt like I was born into the wrong body.
Wow.
And this time was the time that I knew I wanted to carry. I knew if I had this body, I wanted to see the furthest how far I could take it. Like I want to do all the things. If I have this body and I got to make do with it, I want to see how far I could take it and like what it can do. And so stepping into that role in that pregnancy really like allowed me for the first time to like view it as in a utilitarian sense, which for me, that's how I live in general. Like if I need things to like make sense, like, and so like breastfeeding was the same way. It was like the first time I connected with my chest because it was like, this is feeding my child. And it was like, just made sense and I could like be comfortable in it. Wow. And now that I'm no longer doing that, I'm like, take them off.
Wow.
Let's go. I'm ready to go.
That's beautiful. Yeah. Do you have a date for surgery?
No. I would love to have another kid. Like I'm not gonna, not on my own, and I'm cool with not carrying. But I would love to breastfeed the child that my partner carries and stuff like that. So, because you can like induce milk and things like that. So,
wow,
that's like a beautiful perk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I didn't even know you could do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can induce it. I mean, it's challenging. You have to pump. But like hormonally, and not everybody can do it, but it's doable. So I would love to be able to do that, to
Wait,
contribute.
So they inject her milk into your
No,
breast?
no. You induce your own milk production.
How do you do that?
So you pump, like you'll start pumping like for maybe 20 minutes, 2 weeks before delivery.
Yeah.
You start pumping and getting your breasts like primed, and then hormonally, just by proxy, you pick up hormones and your body starts, you can take like fenugreek and things like that, and your body will start. I mean, it's possible. Not everybody can do it, but I think I feel confident.
I love that.
And so I would love to be able to contribute and things like that. But we'll see, you know. Honestly, I used to care so much about like things that are probably important on other people's dockets. But now I'm just like, whatever. You know, that's the thing. I think that we're fed this whole story, this narrative, like this hierarchical level of importance in life. And it's like, in my opinion, a bunch of bullshit. It's such bullshit. And it's so freeing when you stop caring as much. And like, that's not to say like, don't fulfill your responsibilities and things like that. But like, also don't be just weighted down. People are so heavy and weighted down by like the weights of like all these self-imposed like responsibilities and like pressures of the system and like the government and like your own career status and society and social media and all this stuff. And it's like, God, like letting go of that is just freeing. And then I feel like it allows more space for abundance, you know, ultimately. I just care so much. I care about people. I care about experiences. I care about everything like that. But
I mean, you're a poli-sci major. You're definitely
I mean, I definitely like, but it's like at some point, because I definitely take on energies, you know, and it's like, you have to decide like how you can best show up in the world. You know what I'm saying? And in order to do that, in order to actually be able to make impact and change, like you have to show up in your highest and best. And in order to do that, you have to preserve some of your energy and you have to filter some things out and prioritize certain things. And with our current like situation with social media, our brains are not designed to be sent on that much of an emotional roller coaster. Like when you're scrolling and you're seeing like, you know, the Amazon rainforest burning down and social injustices everywhere and like this missing person and then like a baby that's adorable and this cute puppy and then like a puppy that's like in the pound that's about to be put down. It's like your body chemically is not designed to go on that type of a roller coaster from 1 second to the next. There's no regulation taking place. Yeah. And if you are putting yourself through that constantly and your system is completely dysregulated, so how are you going to show up in the world best for yourself, for your family, and for your community to like actually create any type of impactful change? It's like very hard. And I think that that's something that is taking place in the society so much right now, where it's like, there's so much going on. There's so much that you're inundated with that it's like making people, rightfully so, misfire. Their brains are misfiring, and it's not allowing people to show up as their best selves in terms of like, I mean, granted, social media has been super impactful on creating large change in certain capacities, but it's like just in people's day-to-day, I'm seeing so much lately, I feel like, of just complete burnout on social media. People are like venting of like, I've hit enough. Yeah. Like, I've had enough. It's just not natural. It's not normal. Yeah. Do you feel like somebody that's in the industry, technically, because, you know, you're on TV and everything, which I actually love that we didn't talk about that on this episode. Right. Because I don't know about you, but you probably, I feel like everybody knows that you're on the L word. Yeah. And it's like, it's been talked about. It's been talked about.
Like, you've done it.
I've done it. I mean, I've done it. You know, I've done interviews about it. I've talked about it. Yeah.
And I didn't ask you about any of that on purpose because I feel like there is so much more to you than you were on the real L word. Like, it's cool. It's dope. Yeah. But there's so much more to Whitney Mixter than, like, the character you played on that show.
Yeah. I mean, there is. You know, I think that they had to make a caricature out of each of us, and I was a certain caricature. Yeah. My caricature evolved into a different one by the end, but yeah.
Were you that caricature? That's the only question I'm going to ask, honestly.
I mean, I was that person. I did those things.
You were a partier. And
I was a party. Whatever. I was like, you know, openly non-committal at that time. But it was like, I didn't have any malintent. It was an amazing learning experience being able to watch myself back because it's an experience that not a lot of people get. to see yourself and think like that, because we all have images of what we do, and we justify,
Right.
we tell ourselves stories to justify our actions that might not be of the highest integrity or whatever it might be. And being able to see myself back, I was like, okay, Whitney, you could have done that better. You could have been more communicative, transparent, forthcoming.
Yeah.
So being able to see myself back, like, it was a learning experience. And I will say, like, was I that person? I mean, yeah, but in a condensed, chopped up, edited version that was like super switched around. Like, but I did the things I did. It was a very trying time. It was some of the lowest parts of my life, some of the highest parts of my life. It's really hard to have a camera follow you around all the time and navigate breakups, and you start questioning who's your real friend and who has pure intentions. And it's hard, but ultimately I was grateful for the experience.
Do you feel like now in the stage of your life, this is the real Whitney? Like, this is who you really were back then? Because I feel like I resonate so much with your journey in a way, because I had the same feeling when I was in my mid-20s, just like living this alternative version of myself. It was still me, but like the whole like different haircuts all the time, shaving my head, dancing, being erratic, all over the party scene. Like, I actually look back too at my shit and I'm like, that wasn't even you.
Yeah, I mean, you settle into, you get more comfortable with yourself. I think then I didn't ever try to be on, I didn't know I was moving to LA to then be on reality television, that's for sure. And so I was new to the city, kind of. I mean, I was partying, I was drinking, but you also are aware that you're making television, so you're essentially producing your own story. And, so you're always going out, you're always interacting. It's like you time cubed, it's like you 2.0 of on, whatever. And you're drinking more than you would normally. Or I was. And, shit happens. I mean, I think that now I'm more mature for sure. I think now I take way more accountability. I think that I'm much more like, in my honesty and transparency, because it's agreed upon, because then I thought I was, but it was not agreed upon, which is a problem, you know what I'm saying? But at the end, by the end, I did get married and things like that, so I had definitely settled down and evolved in that time. But I think I'm definitely more comfortable in my skin now. I'm the most comfortable in my skin now than I've been. And that being said, it's also like the weirdest stage of like rebirth right now I'm in. I feel like I'm like in this moment in my life where I'm like starting over, and I'm like relearning myself and like what I truly want and like how to get there, because I need to like create new modalities to do it. And that's a really weird position for me to be in, because I've always been so like go, do. And I equate my success on my productivity. I equate my like feelings, my confidence, my all the things on my productivity, and to be able to major.
You're the most Leo person other than
I'm
me.
like
I
Leo,
swear.
and to sit now, and just be okay sitting, to just think like, okay, like let me sit in silence and like really tap into like what I want. It's been challenging, but it's something that needs to be done, because like I want to live my best life, and I want to live my highest self life, and I want to contribute, legacy, like for my son and for like the world, and to make it a better place. Like, it might sound corny, but I really do. And it's like, how can I get there and sitting with that has been a unique experience now in my 41 years on this earth.
I mean, I will say it's interesting that I met you kind of on the end of that whole chapter of your life of like partying and hosting and things like that. Not that you're not going to do that still, obviously, but I think it is different now than it was. Like, I've actually seen the growth. And like when we used to hang out back in the day, it was like, okay, like Whitney, L word, she's always been a partier, cool. But like when I met you in person, I was like, this isn't her. Like, it is. It's a side of you. But I remember when we were like walking in the alley of my apartment that one day, and you were talking about how you really wanted to be a mom and you were excited to be pregnant and you were planning, and it was like the start of everything. And it felt like for the first time in our friendship that I was actually getting to know the real you, like stripped down of all of the, like, I don't know. I think in the party scene, it can be a little gaudy. It's flashy, but like that was like the first time I ever felt like, okay, this is her. Like, she is so grounded and like so secure. Like like, I feel like it's like the start of your life almost.
Yeah.
This is what you have built your way up to, is this moment right now, becoming a mom and like being in this position now where you're just at inner peace.
Yeah.
And you're like, fuck it all. And like, yeah, it's beautiful to watch, honestly.
Yeah, I'm grateful that I got to go through all that bullshit and like all the shit. And that's the thing. It's like even my childhood and like even your childhood, it's like all these experiences are what makes us who we are. And it's like, that's what I'm saying in terms of like what makes you the adult that you are is taking all of that shit and like, you know, all those ingredients of fucking goulash, like a hodgepodge of shit, and like turning it into a beautiful meal. It's like, how do you apply it? Like, how are you applying it to life to like be better? And it's like, I'm grateful for all the things I went through, all the hardships, all the challenges, all the craziness. And I'm grateful to be where I'm now, out of it.
What's next for you? What's coming up?
You know, what is next? I mean, right now, that's what I'm saying. I'm really trying to...
oh, you're in a genuine rebirth.
I'm in a genuine rebirth. But
okay.
I mean, but so I have things. There's one thing I can't talk about, but... yeah, I mean, I wrote a children's book that I'm going to be coming out with. I'm trying to take my... I'm trying to take also separately from the children's book. I'm basically trying to take my event planning production experience and like really apply it to creating fun, diverse, celebratory, inclusive spaces for families and children. Because the thing is this, like I've noticed, I mean, there's so many of us parents, right? And the young parents, or I'm not young, but like we have young energy. We have always been out and about and having fun and doing all the things. And the reality is like, you know, you go to the park, the playground or whatever, and you see these parents and it's like, you think you're supposed to go through the script of like, okay, how are you? And what school and everything like that. And in reality, so much of us are like, oh my God, like I fucking can't, like this was a horrible night. My child is doing this and I'm losing my shit. And like you start having these real conversations, and then you realize we're all just fucking humans that literally have no clue what we're doing. We have no idea. Like that's the thing you realize when you become a parent, you realize, damn, your parents, my parents, your parents had no fucking clue what they were doing.
Yeah.
Like they had no idea. The whole time.
Every year your kid gets older is a new year that you're like, I don't know how to deal with a 14-year-old.
Yeah,
I don't know how to deal with a 15-year-old.
You're like, what the fuck is this? Every day.
Yeah.
Every day I'm like, what the fuck is this kid? Who's this guy? Like who minute to minute, this kid can be a different human. And it's like, you just realize that all these experiences, like strip down the bullshit, like strip down the facade, like let's be real. And like, also let's come together and have fun. Like sometimes parents like to have a beer and that's fine. So like, let's create spaces that have a DJ, that have spaces for kids. There's a beer garden too. And there's all the things where it's like fun times, fun spaces where there's real families doing real shit, talking about their real problems and creating real community.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's really what I'm working on, doing an event that is surrounded by that concept. I have this children's book. And yeah, I have obviously some still nightclub events and things like that. And I have something, like I said, I can't talk about it, but it's something might be in the works. You know what I'm saying? You'll see it.
Great. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah.
What would you tell your younger self, or somebody that looks up to you and, you know, is maybe not really fully in tune with their body, or I don't know, just little Whitney?
Oh man, little Whitney.
What would you tell your inner child?
Oh man, you know, I think what would I tell my little self? Honestly, I think I would just hug her. I would hug her and I would let that be the speech alone, because I think that I think I would tell her like that it's all fine, and all of the experiences that you have, all the emotions are fine. Everything is going to be okay. Like really, it sounds so simple, but everything is going to be okay, because there's so many stages that I went through, and I think that so many people go through in their lives where a natural catastrophizing takes place, and everything seems so important in the moment and so heavy and so end all be all. And and people get so immersed in their own emotions, and there's like a lack of ability to process it. And just knowing if I could look at myself and stare myself in the eyes and just have a tenderness to myself and hug myself, that would be it. I don't even know if there would be words necessary. Like, I would just show myself that tenderness is okay, and it's beautiful, and to lean into it.
That. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked this episode, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button down below for more episodes. I will see you guys next time.